Welcome to the Porn Reboot podcast, where you get practical tips to gaining control over your porn or sex addiction. We help ambitious men end their out-of-control sexual behavior with pornography, sex, and masturbation so that you can maximize your life, perform at your potential, and remain in control in the driver's seat, which is where you have to be in order to gain or maintain the success you want in life. I'm your host, J.K. Amazi, certified sex and porn addiction recovery coach. Welcome to the episode.
Are you afraid of being burned? Are you worried that if you were to invest in some sort of program, therapy, or course that helps you end your out-of-control behavior, that you actually won't end your out-of-control behavior and you're going to lose the time and money and even the trust that you invested in that group, in that program, in that coach, therapist, counselor, or what have you? If you feel that way, or if you feel that way right now, if you actually feel that that has happened to you, perhaps you were even a former client of Elevated Recovery, or you've worked with multiple different programs, and you feel that way, and you're like, man, I've been listening to you, JK, and I'll be real, I don't think I will ever pull the trigger and work with you or anyone else because I had a bad experience with somebody in the past. So I've decided that nobody can actually help me, and I just have to kind of help myself and use resources without attaching myself to a program. So if you feel that way, this episode is for you. The reason I'm recording this is because we recently re-enrolled a former client of mine. And this was a client who had worked with me about 5 years ago. In fact, he was referred to me by his older brother who had worked with me prior. His older brother had such a great experience that he insisted that I work with his younger brother, even though at the time his younger brother was below the age that I accept clients in. At that point, I wasn't taking clients who were younger than 25, 26, okay? I still don't work directly with those clients. If you're under 25, 26, you listen to this, you'll be accepted into the implementation program if you meet all its other criteria. But I made an exception and I worked with his younger brother. So the younger brother went through our program for a couple of months, the implementation program, got some accountability partners, and he quit his behavior. By quit his behavior specifically, it's he stopped using pornography, stopped compulsively masturbating, and his life was so much better. It really improved in multiple areas. Well, he was between the habit and lifestyle part of his reboot. Those are the stages. Just generalizing, I break it down and I tell guys that an easy way to understand the way our program works is, firstly, you need to build certain habits in your life. Those habits are based on different things. They are sometimes based on triggers you may have, awareness of triggers and situations and things in your environment, strong emotion, loneliness, and so on. It's different for different people. But when we've customized and built those habits for you, you need to maintain those habits to the point that they become incorporated into your lifestyle. Now, while it sounds good to have a lifestyle of a rebooter, that's kind of like 12-step stuff, and you don't want to be constantly using willpower to maintain that. Also, our lifestyles change. We get married, we have kids. Our health goes up, it goes down. We make more money, we move to different places, we change jobs. All sorts of things can change our lifestyle. So it's not sustainable. And if it's not sustainable, then your compulsive behavior is liable to come back at any point. And so the final thing that we do is we change your self-image. Once your self-image is actually changed and you no longer view yourself as a person who compulsively uses pornography or who's attached to sex or who needs it. Again, by need it, I don't just need it for your pleasure, but you need it to feel better about yourself. You need it to deal with strong emotions and other issues that you might have. Once that has changed, basically once your values and your internal standards have completely changed, then and only then are you free of this behavior. So this brother was, he was in between the habit and the lifestyle change, which is still a phenomenal place to be for a lot of men. However, there is a red flag here. Because in our program, we are so good at getting you to that point, a lot of brothers mistake that for being rebooted. And I want to really repeat that. It's not even something that I'm proud of. I am really ambivalent to it. If you're relapsing and slipping every day, and that this has been happening to you for years, it is easy. I'll say it again. It is easy for me to get you to the point where you're no longer doing that. Especially if you have direct access to me. It'll happen so fast, your head will fucking spin. Now, just because we can get a man to that point doesn't mean that we can stop him from continuing to slip and eventually going back into a relapse. That doesn't mean that that's the end of the story. There's work that needs to be done to incorporate the lifestyle into a man's life. There's work that needs to be done to change a man's self-image. And a lot of people, if you might be sitting there and going like, man, that sounds awesome. If I could just get to a place where I was no longer using pornography, no longer masturbating, and just having sex in a healthy way, that would be awesome. Would it though? Would it? You think it would be, but you don't realize that there is a price to pay. The price to pay is the sacrifice that you have to make in order to live that type of lifestyle. And most men are not willing to make that sacrifice internally and mentally. They're not willing to have certain boundaries. They're not willing to have certain disciplines. And I'm not talking about living some sort of weird, sober life. It's different for different people. For some men, the boundaries you need to have are with things like social media. For others, the boundaries that you might need to have might even have to do with food or alcohol or other substances. For others still, the boundaries might have to do with what time you wake up and what time you go to bed. All of these things are very important because before you can get to the point where you change your self-image, you must change your biochemistry. And everyone seems to forget this, or they just don't know this. And I don't know why enough professionals are not harping on this over and over again. You can change your identity into the identity of a man who does not view pornography. That's wonderful. But your biochemistry needs to change along with it. If not, it is going to be incongruent. And as a result of that, you're going to end up slipping and relapsing. You can't just change your identity without changing your biochemistry when you are dealing with a behavioral addiction. But I digress. What happened with this brother was that, back to the story. What happened with this brother is that he eventually ended up slipping and then he relapsed. And the things he shared with me were very interesting. So he shared with me that, he had still kept some accountability partners from our program who were slipping. And does this happen? Yeah, it does. So he chose to spend time with men who were still slipping on a consistent basis. And these men were saying things like, like they were talking about porn and, quitting porn and rebooting and all the self-improvement stuff. But they were also saying that, oh man, the program doesn't work, because I'm still slipping. JK says he's going to help you stop slipping. He uses all these words like permanently. He says all these things, but here we are slipping. So this must be proof of it. So I asked him, I was like, well, why did you come back if you had left the program and you were in an accountability group with a couple of accountability partners from our program who were still slipping? Why on earth would you come back? That doesn't make sense to me. And he said, because at the end of the day, and he did admit one thing, he's like, JK, there was a lot of resistance towards doing this. He's like, but because at the end of the day, he's like, when I look back, of all the different things I tried, this program was the thing that worked for me. In fact, he said, it worked for me to the point that I was excited about the future again. He's like, I would remember just being in a cafe, being out, sitting down, being aware of my emotions, just writing down how I felt, feeling so optimistic about the future, making all these big plans and knowing that I could accomplish those goals. And this is important because it's one thing to make plans about your future. It's another thing to make plans about your future without shame or any of the internal resistance, any of the internal barriers and disbelief that are created by having a compulsive sexual behavior. Because when you have a compulsive sexual behavior, you're filled with shame. you're often having to suppress your guilt. You don't trust yourself because you've told yourself so many times that you're going to end this behavior, and you don't. So your unconscious mind just doesn't believe you. You don't feel worthy of love. It's a big secret that you have, and it's going to hold you back. So when you set goals and you try to accomplish things in life as a man, it is very different when there's congruence between your inner thoughts, your inner feelings, and what you're trying to manifest in the real world. So he said that he knew that the direction of his life changed because he was in this program, but more importantly, his behavior did stop. The difference between this guy and the other people who had slipped, and this is the main points of this particular episode. We're not going to ignore those who are still slipping. If you're wondering, well, wait a minute. You're picking this dude. What of his accountability partners that went through your program, right, JK? What happened to them? The difference between this guy and all the other guys is the difference between any man who reboots and those who don't. And what I mean by this is everybody slips. Yes, there are some outliers. In fact, some of them have been featured on this podcast. They're testimonials who joined the program and they just never slipped again. But they are not the norm. They are extreme outliers. It does happen. Do not expect it to happen to you. The men who realize when they slip and they are no longer in the program that they need to quickly take action and get accountability. They need to quickly take action and talk to other men about it. They need to quickly use the tools because they are no longer in an environment that is the environment that our group creates, an environment that supports them. They need to do that. But most men do not do that, especially men who opt to leave the program early. Yes, there is such a thing as leaving the program early. We can't force anybody to stay in the program, but I highly recommend that everybody who joins our program stay till they get to at least the late stage and the maintenance stage. For those who are in the intensive program, I highly recommend that they speak to me on their legacy call so that I can ensure that their life is set up in a way that replicates the environment in the intensive program. This is important. You have to have accountability. You have to be in an environment that has strong boundaries. You have to be managing your emotions. Your lifestyle, you have to plan for it. Is your lifestyle going to change in 2 or 3 months? Well, what do you need to do about that? How can we plan for that? A lot of times, I don't tell brothers to stay in the group. Sometimes they'll stay in the group for a few more months because some big change is happening in their life. So they just still want to have the accountability and access to all the other coaches. But a lot of times I say, leave the group, but please keep me posted privately. Reach out to me and let me know what's happening in your life. But a lot of men also choose not to do that. They leave the program early. And one of the things that happens is your ego kicks in. Your ego and shame, 2 of those things. Because you spent money to join the program, you feel shame because your expectation is that because you made an investment, you should have gotten something out of it. But that is a fallacy. Yes, you did get something out of it, but you're not thinking about this investment in the right way. You learn skill sets, you learn tools, and yes, your emotions change. You learn how to manage your emotions. Your self-image also changed slightly. But one of the things men ignore, because of what I said earlier, one of the things men ignore is the need to continue doing it. Because men joined the program hoping so much to get this problem stopped that the moment it stops between the habit and lifestyle parts of your journey, you immediately let everything else go. You're like, I have relief from my behavior, so I'm good to go. What a big mistake. Having relief from your behavior is not the end goal. It's like somebody who wants to get wealthy and they're homeless. But then the moment you make enough money to pay for 1 month's rent, you stop going to work. And then you wonder why you're back on the streets. Then you look at the financial coach who helped you and you said, he was a scam. He didn't help me out. Really, there are people who said that they got wealthy with him, but I really don't believe them because here I am back on the streets. Well, you didn't continue doing the things that were necessary. That's what happens to a lot of men. Listen, and please listen carefully. When you are ending your out of control sexual behavior, be it pornography, masturbation, escorts, OnlyFans, I don't care what it is. You are either starting this off by moving away from pain or by moving towards a greater future. Both of these things are going to get you to the same place. But the mindset has to transform for those of you who are moving away from pain. At a certain point, it needs to switch to moving towards a greater future. And too many men are seeking help only to get away from pain. Getting away from pain then becomes the goal. Do you understand? But that is not the goal. The goal is a greater future, not running away from pain. And that is the entire point of this episode today. If you become a part of the Porn Reboot program, if you're choosing to work with us, and your only reason is to get away from pain, we will get you away from pain. But please understand that you will end up back in your behavior if while you're in the program, you do not transition it to a greater future. You cannot get to the maintenance stage. Why would you staying away from pain? You won't do it. You won't do it because there is no incentive. We forget how much havoc the pain wreaked on us. But when you've switched it to a greater future, it's always ahead of you. You are willing to maintain. You are willing to sacrifice. You are willing to have strong boundaries. You are willing to have accountability. You are willing to do all those things because you understand that the sacrifice you're making now as your brain rewires will lead you to being the man that you have always dreamt of being. I hope this is making sense because this is so important. It is understanding this that makes the men who come through our program and who are successful the type of men they are. We get men to end their out of control sexual behavior permanently. But I want you guys to really understand that it is not about the tools and the strategies and the blah, blah, blah. No, it is about changing your self-image. So why is it that men will choose to not shift from moving away from pain once they've stopped slipping and relapsing? Why would they not switch to a greater future? Ego is the first reason why. Your ego will not let you do that. Because the first thing men start thinking is, it was already hard enough for me to reach out to this guy. It's not normal, gentlemen. It is not normal to ask another man for help to end your out of control behavior. So already some men feel some kind of way because they had to ask for help. I respect the fact that you did it. I'm honored that you choose to trust me with this. This is an art for me. It's an art form. Sure, it is a science because it is predictable, it is reliable, it's going to give you a specific result. But the way I treat it, the reason I'm in it, is because personally, for me as a professional, it is an expression of art. That's why I go so deep into it. That's why there's nobody else that's breaking it down the way I do. But men have their ego in it. So when they have gotten what they feel they came for, which is they're no longer experiencing pain, they look around and they go like, man, I feel kind of stupid just staying in here. I feel like I'm wasting money. And they stop thinking about the greater future. Why? Because they don't see how a program that helped them end their behavior with pornography or rather control it a little bit better, they don't see how that can help them to their greater future. They actually think that their greater future is out there. Yeah, your greater future is out there outside of the program, but so are all the different things that were leading you to pornography. And that's because the program was never about porn in the first place. Porn has always been the symptom of something else in your life, quote unquote, out there. You cannot compartmentalize the program. The program has to be a part of your life. You take the things that work for you, you drop the things that don't. You incorporate them into your life. But men's ego will not let them accept those things because when they sit to do the morning routine, when they have boundaries, when they stay accountable, instead of actually seeing how these things can help them in their life, quote unquote, out there, they see it as porn recovery stuff. Oh, I only have a morning routine because of porn recovery stuff. Accountability, good porn recovery stuff. Ego. But you know what that ego is harboring? Do you know what it is saving in its attic? Your shame. Your shame hides behind your ego. And as soon as you're out of the program and you slip and you relapse, the shame kicks in. It reinforces your ego. There is no way your ego is going to reveal to me or to anyone, your accountability partners, the coaches, anyone, that, hey, I slipped. All you need to do, if you're somebody who used to be in the intensive, is just send me a DM. I've had people reach out after being off pornography for like 13, 14, 15 months. Send me a DM, JK, hey, what's going on, man? I was in the intensive program and I slipped, bro. I just, it's bad. I'm like, bro, what happened? Oh, well, my wife is pregnant. We haven't had sex for a while, so I just slipped. Dude, what exactly happened? And this is just messages we're sending. He's like, oh, one day it was just, really, really strong urge, so I just masturbated in the shower. I'm like, okay. And then what happened? It was, that was it, man. It just happened like 2 weeks ago. It's just been eating me up inside. I invested so much in the program. And I was like, wait. You haven't watched porn. You haven't masturbated. You haven't done anything for well over a year. Your wife's pregnant. She's not able to have sex with you. You're super stressed, busy, working, everything. And you're freaking out because you masturbated in the shower? Like, bro, get the fuck out of here, dude. You're fine. You're absolutely fine. Like, I think it's good that you freaked out about it, but please don't do that again. I'm glad that you take it so seriously. But for this particular brother, for him in particular, I'm not talking about you that's listening, that did not constitute a slip. That was actually normal, healthy sexual behavior under those circumstances for a man who was not in his compulsive behavior anymore. But he reached out. And because he reached out, that emotion dissipated. The guilt he was carrying did not transform into shame because he was able to go back to the habit of accountability and tell me exactly what was happening. And he's good. I've still followed up with him, I think a couple of months ago. Well, that was before the summer. I reached out to him. He was still doing well. That is what you do. Ideally, he should have had like an accountability group and other people he could reach out to. But most men will experience a slip and they will hold it to themselves. They will feel disappointed because they were like, I got away from pain in JK's program. The recommendation was for me to stay for a year. I was in there for 3.5, 4 months, and it was amazing. I did so well. I just didn't see the point to keep on staying. I needed to move on with my life. And so they leave while they're still in the early stage of their reboot. A slip, they don't want to talk about it. Well, I invested in the program. Then they keep slipping. And the ego won't let you look at yourself and take responsibility for that. All the ego looks at is something external to blame. Why? Because it is so busy protecting shame. So it will not let you look at yourself. You will beat yourself up because of the shame. But ultimately, when it comes to seeking help, you will notice that you have come up with all this negative self-talk that is outwardly directed at other people, at the therapist, at the program, at the Christian approach, at the 12-step approach, at JK's porn reboot approach, always blaming somebody outside of you. And you continue to slip and relapse. And those thoughts begin to morph into, oh, you know what? Maybe I can never control this behavior. In fact, I remember there was a stretch while I was in the porn reboot program where I was kind of slipping and relapsing a lot. That feels a lot like this. Maybe that was a placebo effect, or insert whatever program or therapist or whatever you worked with. That becomes your thing. And before you know it, years have passed. Please remember, I've been doing this for about 12 years now, professionally. And when I say years, I mean years. I see men coming in. They met me when they were 32. Now they're in their 40s. They met me when they were in their early 20s and filled with ego and stubborn, and now they are in their 30s. I have seen it. And unlike therapists and all these other people out there, I lived through this. I am telling you that this behavior is a scourge. This behavior has so much shame that is holding you back. This behavior will cost you so much. You will put down a whole bunch of money to work with me, to work with other people. But just because you cannot reach out even once, because you're so disappointed in yourself that, oh, I put money down and I fucked up. So either the program didn't work or I'm a fuck up. But it's easier to just blame the program. I've heard it all. Oh, well, I tried a different program. Why? Well, it was Christian-based. So I feel like if I was in a Christian-based program, JK, I would do better. But bro, did you forget that before you joined our program, you joined because the Christian-based program didn't work for you? Oh, did I say that? You forget. Why? Addict Time. Go back, search the JKMAZ Porn Reboot Podcast Addict Time on Google and go hear about all the episodes I've done on Addict Time. We don't remember because y'all are not journaling, y'all are not dialoguing, y'all are not keeping track of this. Y'all don't remember how many times you've slipped and relapsed. If you remembered as well as you think, if your timeline was right, you would not be slipping and relapsing now. Because you would know, oh, in the evening, if I go to bed with my phone, I'm going to slip. Well, why do you keep doing it all this time? Why do you do it night after night after night? Why do you keep making the same mistake? Cognitive dissonance. There are these thought distortions that happen with this behavior because of the strong emotion behind it. So you're just living in this weird fantasy land. It's like a porn matrix that actually keeps you locked in a loop for years. This is why when I speak, there's so much emotion behind my voice. Because I want you to snap out of it. Because you will throw your life away. Because you will become like the 40 and 50-year-olds that come here after a wasted life. Because you will be prescribed antidepressants and medication and all these other things. Because they don't know what the problem is with you. But the problem is all the suppressed emotions, the repressed emotions in you. Every problem you face, you keep medicating it with porn over and over again. I don't care how functional you are. You're making $150K, you're making $300K, you got a good job, you got a good body, got a beautiful wife, you got kids. But that thing that you keep suppressing year after year after year, Carl Jung said it, that which we do not bring into the light will destroy us. And when we bring it into the light, it will free us. It will become our salvation. You know what it is. For some of you, it's porn-induced erectile dysfunction. For some of you, it's gay sex. For some of you, it's chatting with other people, having emotional affairs. For some of you, you are having all these affairs. You're so good at repressing it. You're so good at putting it under the rug. Some of you even know how to play the game for months. You're like, oh, too much guilt, too much shame. I'm going to stop myself for 7 months. But you've been doing the 7 months, 8 months, sometimes you'll even stop for a year. You've been doing that shit for 15 to 20 years. That's the game you've been playing. Yes, I'm calling you out. You don't do, oh, it reduced. I've just been doing it. You know, it's been like 7 months. No, your unconscious mind set you up to do that because the guilt was so much. So the way that it stops you from doing it is just like, hey, this is going to threaten your productivity. You make good money, you have a good house, it's threatening. So let's start. Nope, but it's not actually stopping. Your conscious mind says, let's stop. Your unconscious mind does trial rebooter shit. One day in the future, we will get back to it. So all you do is you stop till the guilt and the shit, all those feelings dissipate and you feel like life is good and you're doing well. But you're not. What you actually did is you suppressed it. And it doesn't go anywhere. It stays within you and it festers. And eventually it comes out worse than it was. And you don't see it because you haven't put the years in. You wait a decade. You wait 5 years. The same thing I'm saying now, I was saying it 12 years ago. And you wait and you wait and you wait and your life becomes a shit show. A ticking time bomb within you. Gentlemen, if you have ever been in our program before, and you are slipping, you are relapsing, and you are not reaching out to us, it is time for you to do that. Respond to your reboot strategist, send me a message, reply to an email, but do something to get out of it. We're not going to charge you to get on a call if you were in the program before. Get on a call. Let's talk about it. There is no charge if you were in the program before. I'll say it again. Even if you bought one of the old courses back when I did it, get on a call. Go into your inbox. I'm there. I send out emails I write every goddamn day, year after year after year. Go in then, pick one of the emails and respond. Bro, I listen to the podcast. Can I talk to you? Can I talk to one of the coaches? Can I talk to a strategist? All our strategists are certified coaches, by the way. Certified them last year, put them through the training. If you were in the intensive program and you're still slipping and relapsing now, fuck you. Reach out to me. How can you invest that much? And then run away. At your legacy call, I told you, reach out to me if anything happens. Even if you're not sure that it's a slip, reach out to me. Why would you throw it away because of your fucking ego? Like literally, who else is doing that? Your therapist is not going to do it. They don't give a fuck. Rehab doesn't care. For a lot of you, your wife doesn't even care as much. Let's be honest about it. She'll fucking leave you if she found out that you were still slipping. And you told, I went through JK's program and everything is all good. But I won't. I'm here for you. It is my art. It is my mission. It is what I do. So reach out. I'm done. It's becoming a rant. I love you guys. I really do. I want you to win. I want you to end your behavior. Yes, it's a business. Yes, we have almost 40 people who work on our team. You'll just hear me talking. You'll have no idea the sort of operation we work because y'all are only hearing me. Those of you who watch the videos, you're just seeing that 2D thing. You're just like, it's just JK on the screen in his office. You're seeing the emails. You don't understand what it takes to service hundreds of clients. You don't understand what it feels like to field 2,500 to 3,000 applications a month. Do you know the number of people who reach out who are not ready to move forward? We can't just tell them to fuck off. We have to have conversations with them. We have to talk to people. We talk to a lot of people. We are the best at what we do. The best. Nobody can guarantee the results that we do. And you have the opportunity. You've already invested at some point. And you have the opportunity to reach out, but you just don't because you've given up on yourself. Please don't do that anymore. This week, I want to see some familiar names on my calendar. I want to see some familiar names in my Facebook DMs. I want you to reach out to me on Instagram, LinkedIn. I want to talk to you if you're slipping or relapsing. You'd be surprised how quickly a small adjustment, the right statement, answering a few questions about your situation and your environment can set you up and put you right back where you were when you left the program, that control you had. That's how good I am. A lot of you guys may not be aware of it, but in the intensive, I have something called Take 20s. And the reason it was called Take 20s is because not for every situation, but at least 80% of the situations, I can point you in the right direction and give you clarity within 20 minutes, regardless of how complex your situation is. Why? Guys, it's because I lived with this. I didn't just live with this. I dedicated years of my life. All I did was try to figure out how to end this behavior. That is all I did. And then year after year after year after year after year after that, when I started Born Reboot, morning till night. Well, first of all, night at first because I was selling during the day for my other career. And then right after that, morning till night, all I would do was talk to men. There was a point that my relationship was at risk because all I would do was like, it's client tech, accountability partner, morning till night, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 4 a.m., responding to accountability issues. Like, Jesus Christ, y'all, I'm in this, okay? So reach out. Enough said.
I'm JK, your brother in this struggle. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Born Reboot podcast. I'll speak to you later on in the week. If you found this episode helpful, here are 4 ways I can help you with your out-of-control sexual behavior for free. The first way is to grab a free copy of my book, Confessions of a Porn Addict, 7 Secrets of Porn-Free Men at elevatedrecovery.org or visit the link in the description below this episode. The second way is if you're not sure where to start, but you'd like to learn more about my team and I, if you'd like to spend time with like-minded professionals and business owners who are controlling their behavior, then join our free and confidential group, the Porn Reboot group on Facebook. There's a link to join in the description below this episode. The third way is if you need help right now because you have a burning issue, your behavior with pornography is hurting you mentally or emotionally, you're about to lose your relationship, you want to live up to your potential, be an authentic man, and free yourself from shame, guilt, and underachieving, then click on the link in the description below this episode that says free coaching call. And the fourth way is to leave us a 5-star review if you enjoy this podcast, so that we can reach more men who are struggling in silence and bring back the lessons we learn from coaching them to freedom.